I'm Clayton. Today we are making homemade ricotta. We're gonna call it buttermilk ricotta because we're making it with buttermilk. In fact, the buttermilk that was expelled after we made our own butter. So why is this better than the ricotta that you can buy at the grocery store? Because the milk fat is a lot higher. It's way more delicious. It's gonna have a little bit more acidity to it because it's made with buttermilk instead of whole milk, and you made it. So it just tastes better. So there's really no magic here other than time and patience. So we have our buttermilk, gonna go in a sauce pot, or in this case, a soup pot. If you are using whole milk and you decided not to make our homemade butter and you don't have buttermilk, you're gonna wanna add a little bit of vinegar or lemon juice. So I'll do it just for fun. You don't need it when you're using buttermilk, but you can add just a splash of vinegar or lemon juice. That's gonna kind of help the cheese form its curds. So we're gonna go medium-low heat. Two big mistakes you can make when making ricotta is A, salting before the cheese curds are formed. If you salt before they're formed, you're gonna end up with like really dry, kind of crackly, almost over-cured cheese curds, because essentially when you're adding salt, you're almost curing them. So we're gonna salt it at the very end. And you also don't need to stir once you get the process started, or I mean, at least after you get the process started. So put your buttermilk in. If you need to add acid, whether it be vinegar or lemon juice, depending on your application with the cheese, if you know that you're going to use it for something savory, I like to put in a little bit of fresh thyme into the buttermilk as it cooks. If you're using, ricotta for some type of cheesecake or something funky for dessert, I might refrain from using it. But if you're using it for savory, it's great. Stir it to incorporate, and then be patient and walk away. So we're gonna set it, we're gonna forget it, we're gonna let that cook for a couple hours, and we're gonna come back and visit it here in a little bit. All right, here we go. Next step. So depending on how high of heat you cook your ricotta at, your curds are gonna form at different times. I've been going at medium heat, give or take. So this has been cooking for about 45 minutes. So you can kind of see here as the cheese breaks from the whey. Kind of looks like this, I don't know, kind of looks like pudding. This is a slotted spoon. We're just gonna kind of delicately, like a flower, scoop this cheese out. We're putting it in a perforated pan. If you have access to cheesecloth or a really thin, kitchen linen, you can line this perforated pan with that. That would definitely help. Nice and patient, there's that whole thyme we put in there. We'll pull that out before we make the cheese spread. So the longer you cook this, the harder your curds are gonna become. You can see here how mine are really kind of soft, and I like to use the word supple a lot, but if you wanted a really hard curd ricotta, you could let it keep going. So the whey that's left over in this pan you can use for, any number of things. You can make a whey vinaigrette if you're into that. You wanna make it for a salad. You can make a whey shake, for all you gym goers. You can marinate meat in whey because there's so much natural kind of acidity through the lactic acid that it kind of helps, tenderize meat. So you can do red meat, chicken. All right, so we're just gonna kind of push all this together to one little area. So you just wanna put this in the refrigerator, lightly covered like this overnight, and you're gonna allow all the natural weight from the cheese to kind of push any outstanding whey out of it. You can kind of see how I've got a fair amount in the bottom of my pan here. This is gonna be a lot firmer cheese. We're gonna take this ricotta, we're gonna mix it with some lemon zest, some chives, and some parsley, and we're gonna paddle it, and then it becomes like a ready-to-eat spread. So, until tomorrow. All right, so we have our ricotta that's been sitting overnight in the fridge. You can kind of see how the curds have dried out a little bit. Like I said, you can take this and you can eat it as is, or you can add it to your favorite dishes where you would substitute a store-bought ricotta. In our case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it in a mixer with a paddle attachment. We're just gonna go ahead and add a few simple herbs. So we're gonna add some minced chives. These are garlic chives. If you don't have chives, you can substitute out what you do have. I'm using chives and flat leaf parsley. Take the leaves off the stems. You can save the stems. I like to use the stems in stocks or broths. or something that, you know, you're straining as a final product. Kind of break it down a little bit. And then we're just gonna give it a little bit of lemon zest. Probably end up using about the zest of this whole lemon here. Oh yeah. There's nothing like a brand new microplane. That thing doing some damage. We have everything in the stand mixer. We have our ricotta itself, we have the lemons, we have the parsley, we have the chive, and we're gonna go ahead and give it a paddle on a pretty high speed. And what that's gonna do is any of the whey that's left over, that's still in the cheese, it's just gonna emulsify that back in. So if there's any graininess or any texture to the cheese whatsoever, it's gonna go ahead and take that out, and it's gonna be this like silky, smooth puree. So here we go. It doesn't take much, just enough to kind of emulsify it and bind it all together. And you're left with this like delicious, kind of voluptuous looking ricotta, herb, and lemon zest spread. Just take it, give it a dip. Delicious. It's nice and floral from the lemon. It's fresh and bright from the parsley and chives. It's delicious just as is as a spread, or you can, you know, mix it into a batter of sorts. Or if you're building a charcuterie platter and you want to add a little bit of mustard to go with it or some cured meats, you can spread it on toast. You can eat it with crackers. It's incredibly versatile and good with all of those things. See you later, bye. Hit subscribe below and join us each week as we share new recipes that I love to make at home. Buttermilk ricotta.
Okay.
Spread.
Buttermilk ricotta spread.
You want me to come up with a sexier name?